Well guys, hello, here we are. A little bit of a, well, glad I caught this video. Pretty much the last time I made glad I caught this video was way back when I had the old topper on the Silverado and it was only being held on by one clamp. Well, of course this time it's not the Silverado, it's my, well, 2009 GMC Canyon. Well, recently I had a check engine light come on, and of course you know how you are when you're a little bit mechanically inclined. You open the hood, you know, you check the oil, check the fluids, check the belts, make sure everything is, well, you know, okay, right? Well, everything was fine that I could visibly see under the hood. So pretty much I had the winter servicing coming up, so I parked the truck for a couple of weeks until the appointment date. So it turned out that it was the timing chain, of course, that was the problem. Well, of course, I'm glad that I caught that and took it into the dealership when I did, rather than just, well, you know, driving the truck for the winter, you know. Because, well, I've driven vehicles before with the check engine lights on, you know, like the old Tercel and stuff like that, and never had, well, a huge problem. Well, of course, that's not the glad I caught it part of the video. For some odd reason, when they changed the timing chain, they didn't go through the top. I guess it's because it's compact and tight in there. They actually went through the left side of the truck. You know, they took off the wheel, took off the plastic splash shield up in there, and whatever else. Well, of course, it's only been about 40K since they had the wheel off and put it back on. And they claim they torqued the nuts to spec. Well, if you guys can see it here, well, I'm missing one wheel nut right there, and I believe it was this one here that was finger loose, and I think it was that one there that was finger loose as well. So when you got a 6-bolt rim and you've got 3 nuts that are basically loose, you got yourself a potential problem just waiting to happen. You know, I was one cheeseburger picnic away from, well, virtually losing this wheel and having a huge issue, right? Because, well, when you lose the wheel, effectively the wheel comes off, the rotor hits the ground. On this truck here, probably, you know, would tear up the bumper, end up tearing up, you know, the back fender there, the sill of the truck. And basically a lot of people would slam on the brakes when that happens, and it would flat spot the rotor, and your rim would probably just take off rolling on down the road, you know. So of course I made a call to the old dealership, you know, not casting blame or nothing, just wanted to know what was going on. Never really heard back from them. So the other day I took the matters into my own hands. I went on down to the dealership and basically got the part myself. Paid for it myself, and granted, you know, it was only like whatever it was there, $6.62 with tax. Basically it's just another, you know, shiny acorn nut, just like what's already on there. Of course a genuine GM part, so that means they can charge, you know, 3 times as much. But I guess for, you know, $6.62, that's minor compared to, well, a $700 rim plus, you know, tire and all the damage, right? So of course at first, you know, I tried to go around to the old tire shops and you know, check out there, because, well, they always have wheel nuts there, and nobody carried this type of nut because it was a factory wheel and basically a factory GM part. Nobody carried it. Now of course you guys have watched my videos enough to know that I change my own tires over every spring and every fall, you know, do the winter tire changeover. And of course they are torqued to spec by my hands, so I know that they are, well, on there, they're fairly decent, and they've never given me a problem. And of course, you know, halfway through the winter I'll put the wrench on them again, and, well, they're just as tight as what they were the day that I put them on. So, you know, having the wheel fall off virtually just a couple days, you know, within 40K or so after having the servicing done, it tells me that the technician did not torque them to spec, or there's something seriously else wrong, like the stud may be stripped or something like that. So of course a lot of people would just throw the you know, wheel nut back on her, and basically away she goes. But I'm going to jack up the truck, take the rim completely off the truck to make sure there's no damage to the wheel itself, sometimes when the nuts are loose, the wheel will rock back and forth, ovalizing the holes, or even as far as cracking the rim or damaging the studs. So we have to look at that first before just tightening it on down. So guys, I'll dig out my jack and my stand, and then we'll get at her. Okay guys, so basically all set up here, but before jacking her on up, we should probably loosen the wheel nuts there, because once the wheel's in the air, it'll be a lot harder to loosen them on off, unless you're using like an air impact or something like that. Okay, so now that all 5 out of 6 lug nuts are off the truck, time to jack her up. Of course, when you're jacking her on up, you want to stay away from anything plastic, because that won't support the jack. And of course, stay away from any of the non-structural areas, because again, that won't support the jack. On a truck or something with a frame, pretty much anywhere on the frame will work. On a car, a lot of times they have jack points where they are engineered to be stronger. Of course, if your vehicle is rusty, watch out for them points, because they might be a little thin. So now that she's raised on up, let's pull off the rim. Of course guys, using the old Silverado there as the work stand, we'll have a look at the wheel. Well, if you look here, there's a little bit of abrasion there, a little bit of abrasion there, and well, looks like a little bit there. So of course, very, very minor abrasion. I've seen wheels, so they have like 1/4 inch or so of wear, where they've been driven for like 3 months or something before there was a issue. Of course, if I had a micrometer and I could measure the holes, I'm sure there's a spec somewhere that I could look at, like a sheet, and it probably gives you the hole diameter, and you can see exactly within a hair how much they've worn. But here they still look that they're reasonably round, they're not ovalized, and they're basically good to go. So of course, over here on the truck, we'll check the studs, make sure they're not cracked or nothing. Okay, so the studs are looking okay. Of course, there's no wear on the studs themselves, where the rims rocked back and forth. There's no stripped marks, no damage per se. Of course, if there was a broken stud, you'd undo these bolts. And of course, the studs themselves just kind of press in to, the hub face. I'm assuming these spacers or adapters that they have on them are probably so they could run, 5-bolt hubs, 5-bolt rims on the same rotors or same hub without having any issues. So to me guys, this looks okay. We'll put the rim back on, and then we'll torque it on down. Okay guys, so once we got the old wheel on there, pretty much all the lug nuts or wheel nuts tightened down-ish, we can let her down on the ground. Of course, taking the torque wrench, which of course will be set to your vehicle's spec for the torque. If you torque a semi to the same spec as you torque your Honda Civic, you're going to have trouble, and vice versa. If you torque your Civic to the same spec as you torque a semi, you'll be breaking the studs. So of course, give the nuts a tighten. Now with a decent torque wrench, when it gets to be tight, you'll hear like a ticking sound. Pretty much like that. Now, when you're torquing a 6-bolt rim, you start on this one, go to that one, go to this one, go to that one, this one, and then that one, basically in a star pattern. So I'll get these torqued, guys, and then we're good to go. So guys, there you go. You've seen us fix the mistake. We have 5 rusty nuts that I've seen, well, a few seasons of winter, and, well, one shiny one. Well, pretty much this mistake could have been quite costly if it was not caught at the right time. It would have been nice if someone would have done their job, and it would have been fine to begin with without having to have done this. But I guess people do make mistakes, and as long as this mistake didn't turn into a big issue, I guess she's all good. Of course, guys, like they said, within 100K, we'll give them a retorque, and, well, this wheel should not fall off again for, well, another few years. So, as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's World. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.